Okay, this is where it gets exciting, everybody. We're going to put down the first color coat on your concrete project today, or whenever you're going to apply it. In this video, we're going to demonstrate for you in detail how that's going to be applied, along with the tools that you're going to be using and the materials that you'll be using to accommodate your tooling in applying all of this first epoxy coat. This gets to be fun now because now you're going to get some reward to all of your hard work and labor in the preparation stage that you just went through. So in the foregoing segment of this video, you're going to see snapshots and live video footage in detail of the tools, materials, and supplies that you're going to need to put this first color coat down. And this will be fun for you because now you'll be able to see this all come alive now in color that you've chosen, and this is going to be just the beginning of the end of a great reward for you. So enjoy these next few minutes of the epoxy training course and how to apply your first color coat. Okay, let's start out with a quick snapshot of everything from start to finish on applying this first color coat of epoxy. This is going to give you a lineup of the basic tools that you'll be using, and we'll take these one tool at a time. First, the 8-inch soft brush. Then we'll be using an 18-inch by 3/8-inch nap roller cover. We'll be using a roller cover frame to hold that roller cover in. And then we like to use a 6-inch paint roller pole to attach that, as thus displayed here. We'll be using a 12-inch roller frame. It's a little mini one that we use for doing smaller areas, with 6-inch by 3/8-inch nap roller cover to attach to that. We'll be using the 6-inch by 1.5-inch margin trowel. We'll also be using a cordless drill to mix our material with. We'll be using a 16-inch by 3-inch grout mixer. We'll also be using a 9-inch roller frame and the 9-inch by 3/8-inch nap roller covers to go on that roller frame, and of course the 6-foot paint roller pole. And this is what that's going to look like on the end of the pole here. We're going to incorporate a 4-inch flat paintbrush, universally a 3-inch flat paintbrush. We've got a 12-inch paint roller tray here that we're going to use for our little 6-inch roller cover and frame for doing these small areas. These are knee pads we highly recommend for you for comfort where you're going to be down on the floor quite a bit. These are nitrile gloves and an option of using rubber gloves, or you don't need to use any gloves at all since the products are water-based. And this is what we like to do to try to make sure before we begin applying the epoxy is to test run the fit of your roller cover and frame together. We don't want these things to get sticky and hold up and just end up leaving skid marks and making the whole project look unsightly. We want it to roll out evenly and nice, and so we use some WD-40 just to lubricate the ends of those fiber tips on the end of the roller frame to make sure that the roller cover rolls over that really nicely. This is the product that we're promoting in this video and presentation. This is a water-based product with two parts to it, an A and a B. B being the color and A being the resin. These two components mixed together create the heat reaction, causing the product to begin to set up at a given point in time. This is a product data sheet that's going to be extremely helpful for you so that you can review the description of the product, its typical usage, its benefits and features that it also promotes. This will give you an idea of its chemical properties, which is very, very important. Moisture vapor testing warning. This also is to inform the customer of things to qualify before using the product. A brief overview of mixing application and mixing floor preparation. This is an overview of that surface preparation and the mixing instructions. All of this you will be able to review and read through more clearly here in the PDF downloads, and areas that are warnings and recommendations. We're going to prepare things now by getting some buckets full of water so that we can clean up, and also use clean water for adding to the product to get it to the consistency and viscosity that we want it to be. We're going to pre-mix each of these parts A and B prior to our using the product and mixing the product together. We like to make sure that any separation that may have occurred in shipping and handling of the product, that you get that all mixed together thoroughly. These are the items that we're lining up here. We got our bucket of water and our drill and our mixer and our brushes and our margin trowel, the mixer on the end, the paddle mixer at the end of the drill, and our empty bucket to mix our two epoxy components A and B together. So let's demonstrate this whole process now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the paddle mixer wet. This way it makes it easier to clean off when I'm done mixing here. You'll see what I mean afterwards. But here we go, mixing part B and the colorant first. I'm going to get that all thoroughly mixed up and make sure that it is ready to be a perfect catalyst for the resin. I don't care if I put that same mixer into the resin side, because we're mixing them all together here anyway. I'm going to put that inside the 5-gallon bucket container that we're going to load up these 2-gallon units of part A and B, each of them being a gallon. And we're going to use our margin trowel to scrape out the bucket to make sure that we get all of the resin, all of the colorant out into the 5-gallon bucket to mix it nice and thoroughly. Now I'm going to take part B here, which is the colorant, and do the same thing with the margin trowel. Scrape out the bucket to make sure I get all of the colorant into the 5-gallon bucket so that I take advantage of every ounce of the product and don't leave any left behind. Once that is completed, then we're going to go ahead and mix these two components together really thoroughly for a couple of minutes. Now that those two components are all mixed thoroughly together, and I've got a good feel for the viscosity and thickness of the material and being able to apply it, I can see that it's a little heavy, so I'm going to add a quart of water to this. Since it's water-based, I have the luxury of being able to do that. Now I'm going to mix that really thoroughly and consistently into the 5-gallon mixture. This will add another quart to the total overall volume of your product now, and so you can actually extend a little bit of that square footage. I'm going to break out some of the 5-gallon bucket container of the epoxy and put it into one of the empty gallon containers of epoxy to make it easier for me to go ahead and take just a portion of it around with me to apply against the foundation wall of this particular garage project that we're demonstrating. I'm going to use this 8-inch soft bristle brush to apply it. You can see how it's easier for me to use the 1-gallon bucket to drag along with me. This 8-inch soft bristle brush just makes it a lot easier to get into the pores and the pits and all of the unevenness of the foundation wall. I'm going to show you how now to apply one of the brushes. In this case it's the 4-inch flat brush. I'm going to tape it on the end of a 5-foot pole and make it really secure so that I can do a lot of the brushing, cutting in edges and such by standing up instead of bending over all the time and being down on my knees. Just a little trick to the trade. You don't have to do this, but we demonstrate this so that you can see that if you want to take advantage of this, it just makes it a little easier on your body. Here again, we're just demonstrating that we're using a smaller container. You don't have to use the bucket that we used for the epoxy, but it just seems to make sense without having to buy another bucket to use it, take advantage of it, and be able to carry it around very efficiently, and be able to dip my 4-inch brush into that to be able to cut in edges here on these steps and stairs if you have that on your project. We show here now that we're going to use the 9-inch roller cover. It's going to be a lot easier and efficient in a tight spot like this on these stairs to be able to apply the epoxy. Keep in mind that as you're rolling and brushing the epoxy product, you want to be sure you brush it out dry and roll it out dry. You don't want any puddling. This way you can avoid any stop and start marks and also any obvious blemishes because you have a thicker area in one place than another. So take your time and be very methodical about your procedure and your approach to this so that you can make a nice, neat, and even display, spreading this out very evenly over the entire surface. If you've ever done any painting before, there's nothing different about this applying the epoxy as opposed to a paint. You just do a job so that visually you can see that it's a nice, neat, clean, and thorough and consistent application. Once you've got those hard to get areas, then now you can go through all the control joints if you have those in your particular concrete and use that brush attached to the wood pole to be able to get down into the grooves. You're going to do that first as a preparation before we roll out the rest of the garage, in this particular case a garage floor. So be very aware of getting it all the way down into the control joint so that you don't see any of the concrete reflecting through the color coating. Now we're ready to go ahead and put down the coating on the horizontal portion of this garage floor that we're demonstrating here. When you first roll out the epoxy with your 18-inch roller cover, it'll take quite a bit of product to begin to saturate the roller cover first so that you can get some pretty good mileage with your epoxy in the beginning. And so get it saturated really good on all the way around the roller cover, and then you'll find out that your consistency is a lot more thorough and consistent all over the entire surface. You'll notice here that I'm going back and forth multiple times to make sure that I don't have any puddling, I don't have any stop and start marks, and I'm running the roller dry. We call it rolling it dry, where we've taken all the moisture that, or the product rather, that's inside the roller cover itself, rolled out onto the surface until we have to pour out some more. You can see I'm going back and forth many times over the surface again and again to make sure I don't have stop and start marks, I don't have any puddling issues, and I get a good, thorough, consistent layer on this, and I'm making sure that I get it into all of the irregularities in the surface as well. This method of pouring out the epoxy out of the 1-gallon bucket is called a windrow. It's where we pour it out in a single line in a puddle, and now we're going to saturate a new roller cover with that windrow before we begin to spread out the epoxy and begin to roll it out evenly. So once your roller cover is saturated, then your epoxy rolls out really nice and evenly over the areas that you do roll it over. This particular segment of video is exactly 2 minutes long. You'll see how we're taking approximately an 8 by 10 section of this garage floor, and in 2 minutes it's going to be covered here with this 18-inch roller. Once I roll this roller out dry, I'm going to be ready to put down some more of the epoxy, and I'm going to try to coordinate it so that I don't pour out too much of the epoxy, so that I can avoid having and avoid forcing me to take too much of the epoxy material in and down and through the control joint. I don't want to lose any of my product, and so I try to coordinate it so that I put out just enough that I think that I can get right to the control joint without spilling it over and leaving a puddle down in the control joint. In this case here, it's rare that you'll find that there's a tooled bullnose joint in the garage floor. Typically they're just saw cut joints, and probably in your case it may be that you don't have any joints at all in the concrete. Some contractors choose to do this for controlling cracking. Others typically don't. It's not necessary, but it is just a precaution, just so that you know if your project has these, you want to try to keep it from puddling down inside them. And so now we're just going to speed this up so that you can see that we just do the same process over and over and over again. And you'll see in this segment of the video that we're taking it one section at a time. So it makes it a little bit easier to be able to calculate the usage of your material. And also you can kind of regulate your time as well, putting down the product. So we're working from the front to the back so that you have an escape route. This is what your first coat looks like when it is completed. And this concludes segment 6 of applying the first color coat of the epoxy color coating. Hope that you've enjoyed that this has been ever so educational for you, and that builds confidence in you going forward, that you can go forward and do this in full confidence that you know that you can accomplish this as we have demonstrated for you. Have a good experience, and we'll look forward to seeing you in segment 7, where we go over applying the second color coat of epoxy along with the color chips to cast into the epoxy coating.